Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we got multiple topics to talk about today. We got Tropical Storm Zeta in the northwestern Caribbean. We also got potentially for some major flooding issues that could occur across portions of the Tennessee Valley, the Lower Ohio Valley, maybe even including Oklahoma and portions of Texas as well. Although that'd be associated with a different system, but with that same system can bring winter storm conditions across the panhandle of Texas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, a good chunk of New Mexico, Colorado, maybe into portions of Kansas as well. We're also going to be talking about fire danger that will be going on across California over the next couple days as well. But let's first talk about the tropics. We got Epsilon be moving out into the Northern Atlantic. That could become a huge storm across the Northern Atlantic very soon here. That's going to be very interesting to watch there. It did bring some effects to Bermuda a couple days ago, bringing in some tropical storm force winds over Bermuda. Good news is it missed them to the east there, but we now have tropical storm Zeta in the northwestern Caribbean that'll be eventually going to be moving into the Gulf of Mexico here, and there's going to be another question here where it's going to make landfall at this point here. Unfortunately, it'll be making landfall somewhere in the United States. We just don't really completely know that just yet, which I'll show you guys the cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center here in a minute. But for right now, with tropical storm Zeta, it's got sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, so it's not too bad. It's got a pressure of 1,005 millibars, so it's also nearly stationary as well, so it's not really moving a lot as of right now. So it's just basically just sitting there at this point here, but it eventually should start to move to the northwest. Eventually could be impacting portions of Mexico, just like Delta did earlier. Good news is Zeta will be expected to be much weaker than Delta was. That made landfall to Cancun, I think that's what you call it, Cancun, Mexico there. So yeah, Zeta will bring in a decent amount of rainfall, also for some strong winds as well. So keep in mind of that. Let's click on Zeta here. Take a look into the cone of uncertainty here. We do expect this to become a hurricane very soon here. The good news is that a good chunk of the Gulf of Mexico here has an unfavorable environment for for tropical systems. Although it is a pretty favorable environment below this 25 degrees north line here. Below that, favorable conditions are for tropical systems, but north of that, it's pretty unfavorable. So it's likely to be dying down before it makes landfall. So that's some good news there. We only expect this to become a Category 1 hurricane at max as well. Although when it makes landfall to around portions of Mexico here, that could change the forecast on the intensity later down the road. So it's going to be kind of that situation again like we had with Delta here, which is making a very similar track here. But for right now, look like it could make landfall anywhere between uh, in southeastern Louisiana or even into the portions of the Florida Panhandle. So generally in that area there needs to watch for potential impacts from Zeta here. And right now, Zeta is dealing with some wind shear right now. And that's what's kind of keeping the intensity down. Although that wind shear should be calming down. That can lead to intensification with Zeta. You can see it intensifies just a little bit here. Not a whole heck of a lot. 983 millibars at that point when it gets to the 25-degree north line. You can see her as it dies down here as well when it approaches to the Gulf. You got below average sea surface temperatures. Ocean heat content is pretty low. You also got wind shear, so it's a pretty unfavorable environment for tropical systems in the northern Gulf of Mexico, which is some really good news there. Although, if this makes landfall in the United States, which it likely would, it'd be the 11th named tropical storm or system to make landfall in the United States in history. This would be the 11th time here as well, and that would beat the record back in 2005, and that was a pretty memorable hurricane season there. You can see how it kind of moves to the north here. It won't have a whole lot of moisture with it here, which I'll show you guys the rainfall forecast for the weather Weather Prediction Center as well just a moment. You can see here the remains is going to be in the Carolinas. It's looking to be around uh, the GFS showing by Thursday here as well. You can see here, it'll still be running into some wind shear here as well. Let's take a look into some hurricane models here. We'll take a look at the tracks here. This is a pretty fresh run, 18Z. It's predicting landfall a little bit further to the west here, kind of the western side of what the National Hurricane Center has their cone placed here as well. Really anywhere from Mobile, Alabama to kind of nearby, man, I forgot what that city's called, New Orleans, there we go. Kind of somewhere in between those cities there is where it can make landfall. It will eventually have a northeasterly turn here. Couple more still continuing to the north, a little bit more towards Kentucky into the Ohio Valley as well. But we're going to see about that here as well. Here's the intensity forecast here. We do expect this to become a hurricane. I highly doubt to see this becoming a Category 2 hurricane. I think that is very unlikely at this time here. I think it'll just stay as generally just a Category 1 hurricane here as well. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of pretty much it from Zeta here. Although it can bring a decent amount of rain here. But when it makes landfall, kind of around Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle, look like it won't bring a whole heck of a lot of rain. We're talking about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rain. That's no whole heck of a lot. But when it gets into the Tennessee Valley, it's going to be interacting with a front that'll be setting up kind of north of the Ohio River, something like that, and it kind of extending back towards Oklahoma. Around the same time, there will be, back in Oklahoma, you can see some higher amounts there, over 4 inches. That's in the yellows. There will be a system over there that could bring a lot of rain and also quite a bit of snow as well. But we'll talk about that a little later down the road on this video. But when it gets close to that front there, you can see here, across portions of Tennessee, Kentucky, even into West Virginia, we're getting rainfall amounts up to 4 inches of rain in some of these regions here. And when you have kind of interaction like that, you can usually see a lot of rain. And that could create some flash flooding issues across some of these regions here. So your flash flooding threat is going to be a little bit later down the road on landfall here. We have, you know, a stationary front that has some moisture, adding on top of it to a tropical system that has moisture, you can get a lot of rain. So this is definitely stuff we're going to be watching very closely here. And the icon model here kind of has a little better handle, I think, with this type of situation here. Most of other models are kind of, a little bit underdone. Although the European model is not doing a bad job, I think. So you can see here, across Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, southeastern, Missouri, into several Illinois, into Indiana. Some areas could see 2 to maybe 5 inches of rain in a couple regions there. That's from one system. But then when Zeta kind of comes in here, and when you have an interaction with that front, look at these rainfall amounts kind of along the Kentucky-Tennessee state line, indicating rainfall amounts really close to a foot here. That's in the yellow there. That's a foot of rain. And last night, the GFS with the 18Z run yesterday was showing very similar amounts here, although it was a little bit more widespread there. For right now, it has backed off quite a bit. So this is definitely something we're going to watch here very closely here, since some also indicating some pretty excessive amount of rainfall here across some of these regions here. So this is definitely something we're going to be watching here very closely there as well. So that's pretty much, Zeta in the flash flooding issue kind of out of the way. Let's talk about the winter side of things here. This is the watch warning map here. You do have hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, in the central Gulf there, portions of the Gulf there as well. And it's a mess across the central and western United States. The eastern United States is pretty much quiet. But when you get into the central and western United States, it's pretty active. In these peaks here across Colorado into portions of Nebraska, southeastern Wyoming, into the mountains of New Mexico, you got winter storm warnings in effect. Here, these purple shades, I believe those are winter weather advisories, although I think those are actually freeze warnings here. No, these are actually winter weather advisories. Okay, just making sure because some of these colors here are pretty similar here, so it's going to be hard to tell. These blue shades here, like across portions of Texas here, that is winter storm watches. And you got as far south as southwestern Texas, so there's a possibility for a winter storm there. It's a pretty good possibility there. So this winter storm can bring a lot of issues here, issues across over a good chunk of regions here. It's already produced a lot of snowfall across the Rockies there, or I should say the Northern Rockies there as well. Speaking of that, let's actually take a look at to observe snowfall here. And we kind of move a little bit more national here, really quick. Now we'll go back to the last 72 hours here. The last 3 days. So you can see here, snowfall amounts, some areas got picked up to 2 feet of snow across portions of Montana, even into Wyoming here. We'll see this get updated later tomorrow here. I know some of these areas here are getting snow right now across Wyoming and Colorado. I meant, well, yeah, Wyoming, Colorado, some other areas as well. I know you guys are getting some snow right now. It's just, we're going to wait for this thing here to update. Here's, well, you can see here as well. And let's take a look at some models here. So this is the GFS here. Your low pressure system's over the four corner states. It's bringing in some strong winds across northeastern Arkansas. Not Arkansas, Arizona. My bad. And you can see here, when it gets into the mountains of New Mexico, southern Colorado, you're getting heavy snow. I mean, very heavy snow. Meanwhile, across the Texas Panhandle into portions of Oklahoma, there's going to be some ice going on there. So definitely gotta watch out for that. And pretty much a cutoff low at this point here, bringing in a decent amount of snow across portions of Texas into New Mexico. You can see Zeta is starting to come up here as well. And like I was talking about earlier, here's your front right here. And when they both start to interact here, you can get a lot of rain here. And this cutoff low still continues across portions of Oklahoma here. That's why Oklahoma can see a lot of rain because there's going to be kind of a cutoff low there. And you can see here, it starts to move eastward here, eventually into the Tennessee Valley, or you could say Kentucky and Tennessee there as well. Let's take a look into the European model with this. You can see here over the next couple days here, it's just going to be, some areas that could be seeing some freezing rain, sleet, snow, or just a lot of rain, in general. And it just basically sticks around there till Zeta starts to come in. And you can see there, it could bring a whole heck of a lot of rain here as well. You can see some bands of very heavy rain there. And eventually starts to move to the east. Could be picking up some snow again across the northeast, although that could be saved for a different video there. Let's take a look at two rainfall amounts with the European model. See what it says here. Seems like it's going to take a moment to load. So this is the GFS model here. Likely underdone here. That's actually in the wrong thing here. Let's see here if I can get rain here in inches. There we go. I don't know why it's like that, but anyways, I think it's likely well underdone here across these regions here. You can see around an inch. I think you guys could likely see a lot more rain than that. Although what it does show is Zeta a little bit further to the southeast here, but it still does bring quite a bit of rain here. And I think what this scenario here is Zeta doesn't really get close to the front here, so that's probably why up across Kentucky here, not seeing a lot of rain, but we're going to see here what the trends are going to show. But you can see back into Oklahoma here, 5.5 inches of rain. If we go back to the European model, showing kind of similar scenario, a little bit lower on the amounts. You can see here when you get to the Ohio Valley, you can see swaths of over 3 inches of rain there as well. And kind of going back to the winter side of things, look at all that snow forecasted by the European model. Nearly 30 inches of snow across portions of New Mexico and Colorado. That's a lot of snow there. Texas Panhandle, about 15 inches of snow. And there can still be a decent amount of snow going into central Missouri. Snowfall amounts showing around 4 inches and eventually getting into central Illinois, where it may just be maybe up to a half an inch of snow, or coating to a half an inch of snow, I should say. Here's the GFS model, some similar amounts here. You got 26 inches of snow there in some places here. And generally, widespread, probably around a foot of snow. So likely could be seeing a winter storm ongoing across portions of New Mexico, the Panhandle of Texas, Panhandle Oklahoma, Southwest, well, most of Kansas in general, and even to Colorado as well over the next couple more days or so there as well. So that's the winter side of things out of the way. Let's actually talk about fire danger, which will be going on across portions of California. This is the forecast by the Storm Prediction Center. We got an extreme risk for fire across north central California there. Areas in the red there, like southern Nevada, kind of around Los Angeles. And you got another area across southwestern New Mexico. These regions here does have a critical threat for some fire danger as well. And if we move on to tomorrow, you got another extreme risk that be going on across around the LA region as well, kind of surrounding LA there. And then critical fire danger again across southern Nevada, north central uh, California there, and even into portions of Arizona as well. So there's going to be critical fire going on over those regions over the next couple of days. And then on day 3 here, there could be possibility for threat for wildfires again for some of those same regions as well. And let's look into the European model. So this is its prediction for wind gusts right now. Very windy across portions of Arizona into New Mexico, even into Colorado as well, creating a lot of wind. And then when you kind of go into north central California, where there's an extreme risk for some wildfire, you can see here wind gusts nearing 50 miles an hour in a few areas, and that's pretty favorable for some wildfires wind-wise there. And that can, if any fires go on across north central California, the fire will spread extremely quickly, and the numbers just keep on getting higher overnight. Wind gusts 65 miles an hour. That's some very strong winds there as well. Temperatures around the same time here. It's going to be a little bit cool here. I mean, you got temperatures in the low 50s in a few areas, and around Reno, temperatures in the upper 20s, even mid 20s. So it's going to be creating quite a wind chill across some of those regions there. But when you get into the dew points, yes, the dew points. Dew points will be extremely low. And that's one of the causes for some of these wildfires here is the the extremely low amount of dew points there. You got humidity here. It's right now extremely dry around the same time here. And that's why we got a extreme threat for wildfires across some of those regions there. Then when you kind of get into Monday here, if we get to around Los Angeles here, predicting wind gusts, man, up to 75 miles an hour. If wind gusts this strong here, they could do some damage out there as well, just from the wind. there as well. If you look into temperatures, kind of around the same region there. This is 11 a.m. on Monday. Temperatures are in the mid 30s, so it's going to be quite chilly out there. But again, with those dew points, it's in the negatives, and the humidity, it's just very low. This is definitely can be a pretty dangerous situation across some of these regions here. I mean, for how favorable wildfires could be, it's pretty high, unfortunately, across some of these regions here. Around Los Angeles, I mean, temperatures in the low 70s, but where we're seeing the better chances for some very strong winds here. I mean, wind gets up to 70 miles an hour. I mean, that's some pretty strong winds there. And those strong wind gusts could continue into Tuesday, but maybe not as bad there as well. And you can see temperatures kind of in the 50s, humidity very low, and then your dew point values could be very low as well. So really cool with temperatures. The dew point, it's going to be very dry. It's also going to be very windy as well. So for the chances for wildfire over those regions is going to be pretty high, unfortunately. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really do like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you can put a comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.